Good evening and welcome to this channel about past lives and reincarnation. I had an encounter maybe 4 weeks ago. I didn't want to tell you this story for some reason. It was very dark. But now I feel okay to tell you this story. It's very dark. Now there's something with darkness that I want to explain. This is my experience with darkness. Of course, it's not part of the physical world. You can't see darkness with your eyes. That's not the darkness I'm talking about. I'm talking about the spiritual world darkness, right? And of course, a lot of people can see this. They meet a person and they just get this feeling of darkness. And that is you watching him or her as a spirit. If you didn't watch it, you wouldn't see the darkness. So that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, so this story is very dark. Now, I also want to explain this. My experience is this. When I look at this darkness, as soon as I get some truth about the darkness, I experience this darkness going to brightness. Not all at once, but this experience, watching this happening, will make me feel good. It's like a surge through me when I experience this darkness turning into brightness, when truth is coming in. And this can be so extremely strong for me. Now, sometimes when I do this, I get physical reactions. It's like I'm jumping. Well, I am physically jumping. My body jumps when this happens. Quite often this happens. So I just wanted to explain this, because this meeting that I had about 4 weeks ago, it was very, very dark. Something came to me and I knew that I had to deal with it, and it was so dark. It was like and solid. It was ridiculous. And I started to look at it, put attention on it. I knew I had to do something, or this thing would be with me. You know, that's how it works. So I started to look at it, and I looked and asked questions to this thing. I knew it was a spirit. I knew this. But it was sort of packaged into this box of dark energy, you know. So, and I just kept asking questions, looking at this thing for a long time. I thought it was a long time. I think it was like 10 minutes. And that's a long time for me. I get impatient with this thing, you see. So, but then something happened, and I got the first thing. The first truth about this spirit. And it was just one word. It was cellar. And as soon as I understood this word, cellar, I experienced this surge. Something brightened up, you see. The next thing I got was, I'm a man. I'm the man in the cellar. That's what he said. And when he said this, I got shivers, see, on my neck and on my arms. So I knew there's some truth here. So I just said, okay, so man in the cellar. All right. And then he took me to a cellar. He showed me a cellar. And it was concrete floor, and it was almost white, which surprised me. I expected it to be dark, but it wasn't. It was almost white, and the walls were white. I didn't check the walls. Maybe they were tiles, you know, white tiles or something. And it wasn't very big. It was a small cellar. So okay. So what happened here? I asked this guy, what happened here? And he just told me straight. he told me he buried people under the floor. Okay, and there were no excuses. He didn't say, you know, these people were very bad and I was drinking, or there were no excuses, which worked in his favor, I think. Of course, it was terrible, right? And it wasn't his family, you know, because I asked him. It wasn't his family, it was people. He buried people in there. 3 persons were buried under the floor, under the concrete. And he showed me how he did it. So he digged it up, you know, the soil, and then he put concrete. When he put them in there, after he killed them, and then he put concrete over this, over the bodies. So how he did it, he showed me. All right, so, and that was all, you know. So, and then usually when I get a confession like this, they usually feel good and they are on their way. But not this guy. He stayed. See, and he wanted advice on what to do. So he realized he did something terrible. Yeah, another detail. He told me this happened about 70 years ago. And it wasn't in Sweden or in Scandinavia. I think it was in Germany. And 70 years ago, well, you know what happened in Germany. All right, so yeah, he stayed. And he wanted advice on what to do. He said something like, no, how do I deal with this stuff? What do I do? And I thought about it, and then I gave him some advice. I told him, you have to stop doing these things. That's the first thing. You can't go killing people. You have to stop it. And actually, you have to stop doing bad things altogether. You have to decide to be good. That's the first thing. All right, and then I told him that he has to make up the damage somehow. Well, he said, these guys, they are not around. How do I do it? To their families? No, I said, to anybody, really. You have to make contributions to people in general. And eventually you will feel okay. And you will be sort of accepted, and you will be part of mankind, you might say, and you feel good about it. You just have to do a lot of good things for a long time, I suppose. That's what I told him. Maybe for a few lifetimes you have to do this before you feel actually accepted. And then he was happy with this. And then he moved along. Right, that's the story. Believe it or not, I'm just telling you. All right, be good.